Rock stars are falling for the world's hottest models. Watch Inside Edition.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight in the Libyan capital, Tripoli, where Muammar Gaddafi has tried to break the United Nations embargo on his country. On the very first day it's been imposed, he failed. The United Nations sanctions went into effect this morning because the Libyan government refuses to turn over to the U.S. and Britain the two men wanted for the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. A dozen countries, including the United States, have expelled Libyan diplomats, and the air embargo is now in place and effective. ABC's Pierre Salinger is in Tripoli.
In Libya today, life went on very normally. All the stores are open and people are putting in their usual workday. Gaddafi is openly defiant of the United Nations. He says that Arabs should kneel to no one except Allah. But the sanctions, at least in the short term, have rallied support for him. Libyan Arab Airlines tried to break the air embargo, but failed. 2 flights to Cairo were turned back by the Egyptian government. A Libyan plane heading for Zurich was diverted by Italian warplanes and forced back to Tripoli. Another flight was turned around by Tunisian air controllers. Despite the air embargo, the UN sanctions are likely to have little effect on the daily life of Libyan citizens. Food and medicine are flowing freely into the country across the land borders with Tunisia and Egypt, which are open despite the embargo. The UN's decision not to boycott Libyan oil means the government will not be hurt financially. But the sanctions are certain to create anger here in Libya, and some of it is aimed at the Arab neighbors who have joined the embargo. Anyone wishing to leave the country now has several options. The easiest is a ferry ride to Malta, or a long drive into Egypt or Tunisia. Russia is preparing to evacuate 3,500 of its citizens here. But thousands of foreigners, including Americans and British, have decided to stay here to keep their well-paid jobs, mostly in the oil industry. Pierre Salinger, ABC News, Tripoli, Libya.
In Iraq today, there's pretty clear evidence that Saddam Hussein has had a change of heart. The head of one United Nations inspection team says Iraq is continuing to cooperate with one of the United Nations' central demands that Iraq destroy equipment which the UN believes Iraq has used for making ballistic missiles. Iraq is also supposed to destroy all equipment designed to make any nuclear device. As ABC's Sheila McVicker reports from Baghdad, Iraq has finally begun to do so.
With these blasts, the heart of Iraq's once secret nuclear weapons program crumbled to rubble and dust. At Al-Athir, Iraqi scientists and technicians plan to assemble nuclear bombs. To comply with United Nations resolutions, Al-Athir was ordered destroyed, and some of those same Iraqi technicians working around the clock were obliged to blow it up.
The Iraqi side did a real tremendous effort to be able to destroy these buildings.
And that effort represents a major change in Iraqi strategy. Diplomats say after months of brinkmanship with the UN and the Bush administration, Iraq's President Saddam Hussein has signed documents ordering speedy compliance with UN demands. In an interview with ABC News, Iraq's Deputy Prime Minister says his meetings last month with the UN Security Council brought about the change.
A better understanding has been reached between the Council and the Iraqi authorities. Therefore, now it seems that the situation, the relationship is better than it appeared to be before we went to New York.
Senior Iraqi officials say the pressure of sanctions on Iraq's collapsing economy forced the change in Iraqi government policy. Improvements in relations are tied to Iraqi hopes that compliance will mean sanctions may be eased. Iraq will soon ask the Security Council for permission to resume some trading. But the longer UN sanctions now continue, the more convinced Iraqis will be that they are being punished. The managing editor of Baghdad's English-language newspaper says Iraq's people feel they are being humiliated.
People think here there are endless conditions. Never know when they end.
And the UN investigation of Iraq is not yet finished. Inspectors are still looking for parts of Iraq's nuclear and other weapons programs that they suspect have been well hidden. So it may still be months before the UN is prepared to say Iraq has done what has been demanded of it. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, Baghdad.
When we come back, some of the day's other news, presidential politics, and later in the broadcast, the newest heart attack drugs. but minutes count. And at one of the first interracial colleges in the nation, the fabric of racial tolerance is badly torn.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Taster's Choice.
Thank you for a lovely dinner.
Aren't you going to ask me in? For coffee?
Well, I do have Taster's Choice.
Then how can I refuse?
Savor the sophisticated taste of Taster's Choice.
Well...
Just one more cup? You know I love your coffee.
Then, by all means, take it with you.
They say our personality traits are formed at an early age. Presenting the 3.1-liter V6 Rodeo from Isuzu. The way we see it, it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
There was an embarrassment for the White House today at a time when President Bush is making a lot of political capital out of political problems having to do with the House of Representatives and its private bank. The Washington Times has disclosed that the White House Federal Credit Union is not above blame. It wrote off $118,000 in bad loans last year, and its delinquent loan rate is among the worst in the nation. Here's our White House correspondent, Britt Hume.
At the White House today, everybody from the president on down was making it sound as if the White House Credit Union was being run from somewhere in outer space, although the president does keep some money there.
You have an account at the credit union, sir? Yeah, I got one.
Mr. Bush's tax return, released as always on April 15th, showed the president got $82 in interest on that account last year. Other than that, nobody here professed to know much of anything about the credit union or its bad loan problems.
My rudimentary understanding is it's an employees association. It's not owned, operated, funded, or managed by the government or the president.
That apparently is true enough. The credit union, located in the old executive office building next door to the White House, is run by and for the people who work or have worked in the White House complex. It is not controlled by the administration itself. It is regulated by the National Credit Union Administration. At his daily briefing today, presidential spokesman Fitzwater made a point of that, insisting, quote, "We have nothing to do with this," and adding, when asked if the White House cared, quote, "We have the same concern about this we have for all credit unions and for the banking system as a whole." Fitzwater vigorously disputed any comparison between the White House Credit Union and the bounced checks at the House Bank, noting that the House Bank was under the direct control of the Democratic leadership. Still, a high loan default rate at the place where many White House officials do their banking does not exactly recommend them as the people to manage your tax money. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
After a week of resting his voice, Governor Bill Clinton was out campaigning again. In California, he said the Bush administration lacks direction, that President Bush makes policy decisions for political reasons. Former Governor Brown was campaigning in Pennsylvania today, and while he did, lawyers representing him formally demanded that ABC News retract our report of last week that when he was governor, Mr. Brown tolerated the use of drugs at his private residence, which was against the law. ABC News stands by its original report. In California last night, Mr. Brown said on television that those charges made by members of his protection detail when he was governor amounted to character assassination without disclosing the identities of the policemen. As we reported then, those men who Governor Brown told us he would get said they feared retribution if they were publicly identified. One of their superior officers does not wish to conceal his identity. Here's ABC's John McWethy.
His name is Robert Ford. During Jerry Brown's first term as governor, Ford was part of the security operation that protected the governor and his Los Angeles residents. From 1976 to 78, Ford was a sergeant, a supervisor. Like the other 4 police officers who agreed to discuss this issue with ABC News, but who insisted their identities be protected, Ford also says he saw repeated evidence of drugs at Jerry Brown's Los Angeles house during periods when Brown was there.
We would find small roaches left, rather incompletely burned marijuana cigarettes. You could smell marijuana coming from the residence.
And when the security detail locked up the house after Brown had left, more than once they found a white powdery substance and tested it.
They gathered some of the residue that was there and tested it. It turned blue, which indicated that there was cocaine present in that powder.
Brown says he never saw people using drugs at his house, nor did he see evidence of it.
Was there ever cocaine or marijuana used?
Answer, no.
As far as him stating that he didn't see it, you would have to be blind, have no sense of smell to not be aware of what was going on there.
All of the men who agreed to discuss this issue with ABC News said they were told not to raise questions about what they saw at Brown's residence. Ford said he got the same message from his immediate bosses and passed it down the line.
Officers had brought things to my attention as a supervisor, as they had other supervisors. They were told, if you enjoy your job, you better reevaluate what you're seeing, or if you're that uncomfortable, that we have another assignment available for you.
State Police Captain Donald Buckland, now retired, was one of those to whom Ford said he reported the issue of drug use at the governor's house. Buckland, who would have been responsible for reporting it up the line, denied it. The California State Police announced yesterday they have closed their internal investigation on the issue of possible drug use at Brown's house when he was governor. They say they talked to a dozen police officers who knew nothing about it.
There are at least a dozen officers that I'm personally aware of that observed people either using drugs or remnants of drug use there in the residence. Many of them are still currently employed by California law enforcement agencies. The majority of those people still fear Jerry Brown.
In Pennsylvania today, Brown called the story rubbish, an absolute fabrication.
Well, first of all, it's totally untrue, and we'd like to know what specific days they're talking about. Their evidence is so unsubstantiated, ambiguous, you can't find out what they're talking about, and now at least we have a name, and that's good.
These remain serious charges. 5 police officers accuse Brown of tolerating illegal drugs in his home while he was California's highest elected official. John McWethy, ABC News, New York.
We'll have more news in a moment.
People loved the old type of granola because it was loaded with great taste. They didn't know it was also loaded with fat. Introducing a new type of granola. New Kellogg's low-fat granola for the new granola type. All the delicious whole grains, almonds, and raisins you love, but only half the fat of leading granolas. So if you like the great taste of granola, but don't want all the fat, try new Kellogg's low-fat granola. Great taste, half the fat.
Do you remember that story about the 3 bears? This was too big. That was too small. And finally, something fit just right. Like the new J30 from Infinity. Now, that's my definition of luxury. It's a car you just slip right into. And live happily ever after. Infinity. Makes you want to take up driving again, doesn't it?
An important message for patients taking Cardizem SR.
I need a refill on my Cardizem SR.
You may want to see your doctor before your next refill, because there's a new Cardizem available. Cardizem CD.
What's the difference?
Cardizem CD should save you money, and it contains the same medication as Cardizem SR.
Can you give me Cardizem CD?
Only your doctor can change your prescription. Ask your doctor if new Cardizem CD is right for you.
Cardizem CD. Thanks. I'll ask my doctor.
In Peoria, Illinois today, a lot of confusion and resentment among members of the United Auto Workers Union. Their strike against Caterpillar, the world's largest maker of earth-moving equipment, is over. They do not feel at all victorious. ABC's Bob Jameson is in Peoria.
Union members reported to plant gates for today's first shift, only to be turned away by Caterpillar.
They wouldn't let us in. They wanted us yesterday, they don't want us in today.
Caterpillar said several days were needed for an orderly return, something that has happened after strikes at other manufacturers. As groups of union members stood outside the gates, Caterpillar also confirmed that up to 15% of the 12,000 strikers would not be called back at all. The company said it learned during the strike it could get by with a smaller workforce.
Last week they wanted everybody back. Now they're saying they only want part of us back.
Union members are also dismayed because the UAW leadership agreed to go back to work under Caterpillar's last contract offer. It has been on the table for months and was rejected by the union as recently as Monday. The union's decision to end the walkout came amid signs support was eroding within the rank and file. Caterpillar's move to replace them at a time of high unemployment had many strikers poised to cross the picket line. With their strike ended but unable to return to work for at least several days more, UAW members began applying this afternoon for unemployment.
Answer the first question, yes, you are looking for work.
The UAW is worried that even though contract talks will begin again, what happened at Caterpillar may send a message that the once powerful union has been weakened just before it begins crucial negotiations with Detroit's automakers. Bob Jameson, ABC News, Peoria, Illinois.
An example this evening of what can be accomplished when workers and management do not view each other as adversaries, but rather as allies. At the Nucor Steel Company in South Carolina, good labor relations have enabled the company to buck a world trend. Here's ABC's Mike Von Friend.
Nucor has become the sixth largest steelmaker in the country by doing things differently. The company has gambled on new technology, and even though steel is a boom or bust industry, in 22 years, the company has never laid off an employee.
We have a program that we call Share the Pain, and that during a slow economic period, we will run a plant 4 days a week instead of 5, sometimes even only 3 days a week for a short period of time, but everybody still has a job.
Richard Holloman has been at the Darlington, South Carolina mill since it opened in 1970.
It's a lot better that way. That way, nobody don't have to worry about a job. They know they always got one.
The 5,600 non-union workers lose money when their hours are cut back. But the pay of Nucor's executives is cut 3 times as much.
If I take a pay cut, then they have to take a pay cut. I think that's the way it should be.
And in the best of times, everyone shares the wealth. Nucor workers make about $8,000 more a year than their union counterparts.
A good year, probably $60,000.
But Nucor's success has not come without criticism. Over the years, there have been charges that productivity has come at the expense of worker safety. The National Safe Workplace Institute last year claimed the accidental death rate at Nucor mills was twice the industrial average. 11 people killed in the last 12 years. The company points out some of the deaths occurred as new mills were starting up, the most dangerous period. And Wall Street analysts defend the company's overall safety record.
Their insurance company charges them less for insurance than average because they think it's safer.
It is certainly more efficient, 5 times as efficient as Japanese and German competitors. That's one reason Nucor is popular with investors and why other U.S. steel companies who've watched Nucor grow are borrowing some of the company's ideas. Mike Von Friend, ABC News, Darlington, South Carolina.
The total output of the nation's factories, mines, and utilities rose last month. Industrial production gained 0.2%, but is still running behind the levels of last summer in full. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained 47.5 points to close at 33.53, and the trading was heavy. Well, they are still pumping the water out in Chicago today in the basement of City Hall. It is 40 feet deep. City officials are now worried that the longer it takes to clear all the water out, the more danger there is of permanent structural damage. Willie Williams, the police commissioner of Philadelphia, has reportedly been offered the job of police chief in Los Angeles. He would succeed Daryl Gates, who was forced to announce his retirement sometime after the beating of the motorist Rodney King a year ago. The hotel executive, Leona Helmsley, reported to prison in Lexington, Kentucky this morning. She's 71 and has been sentenced to 4 years for tax evasion. She will live in a prison dormitory with at least 15 other inmates. We'll be back in just a moment.
They say you can please some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time. But you can't please all of the people all of the time. Or can you?
Special Accord leases are now available. See your nearest Honda dealer for details.
How many times I told my dad to see a doctor? He was stubborn. But the pain in his stomach just wouldn't go away. He had to go. You should have seen the relief on his face when the doctor said Mylanta. He said it was indigestion, and his kind of indigestion needed strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended.
In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
If you're using a credit card to get a cash advance, you're probably getting soaked. Because ordinary cards charge you interest. Right from day one. Which is why you should use the Discover card. Just pay your full monthly balance and a small transaction fee, and we'll give you cash, interest-free. So you can avoid taking a bath. It pays to Discover.
How bad are your allergies?
Terrible.
Terrible allergy attack?
I feel like I just want to unscrew my head, take it off.
Suppose I took your Benadryl away.
I'd be home in bed.
Would you try this new allergy medicine?
Does it work the same?
Dristan Allergy has a decongestant, and this Benadryl doesn't. So it relieves nasal congestion and pressure Benadryl can't. Let's try it.
Okay. I feel fantastic.
Why?
I can breathe through my nose. I don't need a tissue anymore.
New Dristan Allergy. Dristan, the face of relief today.
In medical news today, there's a new study that concludes people with the AIDS virus do live longer if they take the drug AZT before the symptoms of full-blown AIDS appear. This contradicts an earlier study that found those who took AZT early postponed the onset of full AIDS but went downhill faster once the disease developed. There's new information today about surviving a heart attack. One of the most remarkable new treatments for heart attacks in the last decade has been the use of those drugs called clot busters. Those drugs which dissolve the blood clots that cause heart attacks to occur. Today's two new reports emphasize speed. The faster the drug is given, the better the chances of survival. Here's our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson.
The reports dramatically demonstrate that patients diagnosed and treated in less than 90 minutes after their symptoms begin not only sharply reduce their chance of death, but increase their chance of actually stopping their heart attack before it does any significant damage. In one study of more than 5,000 patients in 15 European countries, patients treated at the scene got a clot buster 1 hour faster than patients not treated until they arrived at the hospital. Those treated before hospital arrival had a 17% reduction in heart attack deaths. And in another study, Seattle researchers reported that patients given clot busters within 90 minutes after symptoms started had remarkable results.
There was no evidence of heart attack in half of these patients. 3/4 had minimal or no evidence of heart attack.
Studies have shown that for heart attack patients in the U.S., it usually takes 3 or 4 hours between the start of symptoms and actual treatment. Researchers say that time needs to be dramatically reduced.
It's absolutely vital not just to make the diagnosis in 10, 15 minutes, to get the treatment to them within half an hour.
The message seems to be clear. When it comes to clot busters, it's not just hours, but minutes that count. And that means that patients will have to report symptoms sooner, and doctors and hospitals will have to act more quickly if these drugs are to work as effectively as possible. Dr. Timothy Johnson, ABC News.
There was a warning today about halogen lamps, those ultra-bright lights that are being used more and more in track lighting for homes and offices. Researchers in Italy say that laboratory mice exposed to halogen light 12 hours a day for a year developed skin cancer. The risk was eliminated when the lamps were covered with a transparent glass or with a plastic shield. We'll have our final report in a moment.
Ace Best Buys are terrific values every month, like these.
Ace offers a full line of lawn care products, including premium turf fertilizer for $3.99 and weed and feed for just $4.99.
Ace Best Buys. Another reason Ace is the place for you.
Why Centrum Silver? Because you're over 50 and you're just hitting your stride. Centrum Silver vitamins. Because the latest scientific research about changing nutritional needs after 50 is built in. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
With the introduction of the 1992 LeSabre, Buick's reputation continues to grow. And it pleases us that people are taking notice. Because LeSabre isn't just another fine motor car. It's a Buick. And Buick is rapidly becoming an enormous symbol for quality in America.
In medical tests, people fell asleep faster and slept better with Unisom than without.
Insom for faster, better sleep.
Nighttime, one of the worst times for pain. That's why you need new Ultra Strength Bengay with more pain relievers than we've ever had. Fast relief from muscle aches and minor arthritis pain. With new Ultra Strength Bengay, you can say goodnight to your pain.
Tonight on Nightline, a double killer faces execution in California, and he's being called a victim, too. Brain damaged and abused as a child. Tonight.
Finally this evening, racial tolerance. For more than a century, black and white students have been studying together and apparently setting an example of racial harmony on the campus of Olivet College, a small liberal arts school in Michigan. To the outside world and to many of the students, it seemed to be an environment that nurtured racial tolerance. And then there was a racial brawl there 2 weeks ago that tore the campus apart. ABC's Tom Foreman is in Olivet tonight.
2 weeks ago, Devon Pierce was one of 57 black students at Olivet College. Now he is one of 27. The others have left school because of the racial slurs and violence.
You call a black person a nigger, that's, fighting words.
The fight between black and white students happened in this dormitory.
The first punch was thrown right here.
After weeks of rumors about black men harassing white women, dozens of students erupted into a brawl.
They call me nigger. They say, get out here, you nigger, and things like that.
And these were friends of yours?
Friends of mine. Friends.
The outbreak of hostility here is startling because so many blacks and whites considered themselves to be friends. This small school was founded by an abolitionist. It was the second college in the country to admit minorities. It put inner-city black students into classes with whites from the countryside. But now, unsigned letters promote the Ku Klux Klan. Blacks receive threatening phone calls, and the white members of a fraternity are denying charges that they provoked the trouble.
I don't know of anybody here that's ever used, quote unquote, the word nigger come from anybody in this house.
The school has no black professors. The president says perhaps black faculty could have helped avoid racial problems.
One could make the argument for a lack of enough sensitivity towards the needs of other people. And all of us, I think, can be found guilty of that.
Other critics go much further. They say what happened at Olivet College proves that simply bringing blacks and whites together does not overcome prejudice built up in many years of living apart. Students say they do not know why race suddenly became an issue here. What they do know is that Yolanda Reyes, an Hispanic student, moved out this week.
It's too bad you can't, everybody can't be friends like it was before.
And students who thought they had friends here do not feel welcome anymore. Tom Foreman, ABC News, Olivet, Michigan.
And that's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tonight, it's an hour of female bonding, or has Mom already found a mate?
The suitcase is very light. Well, we're young, we're in love. Who needs clothes?
It's TV's newest hit, Room for Two. Then, Audie attracts all kinds of men.
What's wrong with the guys Audie goes out with?
They're only after one thing, citizenship.
Sibs is back after Room for Two. That's female bonding. Tonight.
Straight ahead.